Hello, friends. Today we have ecosystem voice 204. Already 204 weeks. We meet every week. This is our weekly call. And today our guest, Jae Kwon. And this is a legendary person because he is the creator of the white paper of Cosmos Network. And he is the founder of the Tendermint, founder of Atom1. And this is so big pleasure to have you, Jay, on our call. Jay, please, if you can turn on camera or microphone. We are really glad to see you here and want to ask you several questions. Oh, Jay, I see your microphone is turned off, muted. Oh, yeah, now we are hear you. Jay, thank you for visiting us. I understand that you spend a lot of time in the process of the development of Atom1 and GNOT, and this is so cool that you can always find the time for the community. But maybe somebody who will watch this record don't know you so good as all other cosmonauts know. So maybe you can tell a little bit about your journey in crypto, how you meet with the crypto, and how you came to the white paper of Cosmos.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Okay. That was a while back. It's 2000. Well, I was always interested in alternative finance, right? Because this was before 2014. My family had been kind of messed by the financial system and the banking system. Once when there was what's called the IMF crisis in Korea, a lot of companies went down. And it was because of like George Soros and these bankers who were manipulating the dollar. And it happened again in 2008 in the United States with the 2008 housing crisis, it's called. And so these bankers, they keep manipulating the dollar, how much dollar is available in the system, and it's very clear that there's something wrong with their monetary system. So, for example, before the modern banks, we used to have a dollar system that was more connected to gold, right? So the dollar used to be gold backed, and nowadays that's not true at all. It's deflated. The dollar is inflated like 100 times over than it used to be. And what's going on is the banks, they've created a system on top of the gold-backed dollar system. They changed it so that they can create money out of thin air and basically decide for themselves how to lend it to other people. And it's a massive form of theft. So I started learning about this and started working on, started to believe in Bitcoin in 2013 because I understood Bitcoin and I saw the bubble. I saw how Bitcoin was going to work because money is a bubble in a sense. And then started to work on Tendermint because I love Bitcoin, but it was clear that in order to have many chains, we want something different than proof of work. So I started Tendermint to solve proof of stake, to solve the proof of stake problem. And I'd say that we did solve the proof of stake problem. So Tendermint and Cosmos was the first, right, to solve proof of stake. There were others that were trying to solve proof of stake, like NXT and Purecoin, but they didn't get the algorithm right. right? So you have to get it right. What I did was I found some classical research papers on Byzantine fault tolerance, funded by DARPA, the United States DARPA military, in the 1980s. And there was this really nice paper published in 1988 that had all of the pieces that I could use to make actually provably secure consensus. So that's that. And then we tried to, so that was in 2013. I wrote a white paper, 2014, and then Ethan Buckman joined I think like 2016, something like that. By that point, a lot of Tendermint was already built. And then he wrote a thesis on what I built. So I taught him everything I built. Right? And then we tried to raise from traditional venture capital, VCs, but it didn't work out because no one understood what proof of stake was back then. There were only 3 VCs that had invested in Bitcoin projects. So we figured, well, yeah, I figured if we make a white paper of internet of blockchains, because Tendermint allows for IBC, which is unique. At the time, it was completely unique to Tendermint, right? You couldn't do that with proof of work, and you couldn't do it with any other proof of stake system. So I figured, well, because this is exciting that we can create a network of blockchains with Tendermint, if I make a white paper out of it, maybe we can get money from the public, right, to contribute to our fundraising, right, to invest, right? And that's how Cosmos was born. We did go through a few iterations. So some people didn't like the previous ideas. There was one that was going to be a lot like EOS, but I'm glad we didn't do that. And then we settled on Cosmos white paper, which is basically the most ambitious vision I could think of. And did a fundraiser, and you know the story, right? In 30 minutes, we raised $17 million from 1,000 people, and we had to shut it down. Shutting it down was my idea. So we had a limit. If we hadn't shut it down, it would have been the biggest fundraiser ever. Probably would have ended up with billions of dollars. But it's definitely hard to manage that kind of money. You know, something bad would have happened if we ended up with that much. So, I mean, the ICF clearly has enough money. So that's not the problem. The problem is that, I'd say what went wrong, and we can talk about that later, but I'll skip over it. And then after we launched, I focused on making the Cosmos SDK. So a lot of the designs, basically the early version of the SDK was basically me coding again, right? It was mostly me, or my designs anyways. Yeah, so you just have to look at the code and the GitHub repo.
This is amazing journey and so very interesting history. So can you tell us a little bit more about All-in-Bits and about GNOT because some people still not really familiar and don't really understand the role of All-in-Bits, a role of GNOT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So All-in-Bits was the first company. All-in-Bits was a company that I created in 2013, right? It's called All-in-Bits because I decided to go all in on Bitcoin or in crypto in general, because that's when I started believing in crypto, right? I was also a poker player. So going all in on Bitcoin. It was the company under which I made Tendermint, right? before Tendermint, I was working on an exchange. So if you go to GitHub/Jae Kwon, you'll see Fort Knox, which is the exchange I was working on. So had I continued to work on an exchange, we would have ended up with, I would be running Coinbase instead. Okay. I was basically, Fort Knox was maybe the first exchange program that was fully accountable. Users could see how much the exchange itself had in its assets, and that would have been cool to have a standard like that. But nowadays, I guess you don't have that, even with Coinbase. That's a shame. And then it made Tendermint, and then for Cosmos, it made a huge mistake. For Cosmos, I was concerned with the law. Okay, so I decided to make a Swiss Foundation. That's the ICF, right? And I figured that because Ethereum had gone through the ICF, that maybe this is a vehicle to do it legally, and I won't get in trouble. So figured we should, that AIB, because AIB is funding everything, that AIB should get some pre-mine 10% and another 10% to the ICF. So the idea is that 10% of the pre-mine belongs to AIB. It's for profit, and then 10% of the pre-mine going to the ICF is all to be spent towards common good, right? So all the additional funding that needs to happen to complete the project should come from the ICF as a nonprofit, right? That's the idea. Of course, that's changed, and that's a big part of the drama. But the idea was, it could have been like this. Like the other way to do it was all in bits would have gotten 20% pre-mine, and then we would have spent half of it responsibly, right? I think that would have been a better option, honestly, because of all the drama that happened. Now you have the ICF that is for profit, and it's not doing what the community wants. It's horrible. But it is what it is. Now we learned a lesson. So that's all in bits. GNOT, right? GNOT is it's a smart contract system. It's another blockchain, but it will merge onto Atom1 with ICS, right? So it'll become part of the same ecosystem, but we're launching them for now as separate chains. GNOT is it's going to be better than Ethereum. It's inevitable. So before I was into blockchains, I was more of a language nerd, programming language, right? So I just love programming languages. I love language. I only went into blockchain because I was interested in alternative finance, but I needed to make money. If I didn't have to make money, I would be working on computer languages. And then once I figured out computer languages, I would have got to AI, but that's the order of things, I guess. I figured that I could make a better smart contract system for better than Solidity, right? So during the COVID lockdowns, I worked on making this interpreter, right? So this was the fourth kind of programming project that I tried, right? Before that, I was working on a CoffeeScript interpreter and a CoffeeScript parser. So I started working on it during the COVID lockdowns, and now that it's basically done, right? There's like one more issue that I'm working on, which will be done this week. What it is, GNOT is I would say it's the first multi-user programming language, right? So it's the first multi-user general purpose programming language. There we go. So what I mean is, when you program something in a modern language like Go or Python, it's only for one user, right? The programmer, right? So when you import a library and you use your library and you use all those libraries you imported to construct and compose a program, you trust all the code that you write, and you also trust your libraries, right? If your library is compromised, then your program is likely compromised, right? There's complete trust in all the code, because there's really only one user who executes it, who's the user, right, of the program. But what we want in a smart contract system is a language where there's more than one user, right? So we can get into it more later, but in short, what GNOT allows you to do is to declare your smart contract, which is basically a package, just like a Go package. We call that a realm because it's a package that can have mutable global state, right? But it's a package, just like a library. And any other user can import your smart contract and use it as if it was a library, which is quite unique. Basically, that solves the interoperability problem, that all the smart contract platforms have except Solidity. Because if you don't do what we do with our special virtual machine, then you have to do message passing and you have to figure out type safety and all that. But when you have a special virtual machine that's designed for multi-user programming, then all of that stuff is already solved for you by the language specification. You import, and type safety is already there. It's a very strange concept to explain, but once we launch it and you play with it, you'll start to understand what this means and how unique it is. It's a paradigm change. So I keep saying that GNOT is the next C because of what it's innovating. And I think it's going to have a bigger impact than even Tendermint or Cosmos in programming.
This is amazing, and as I understand it, will be used in Atom 1. So, and already in Atom 1, we have token ATONE, we have token PHOTON, and it will be added smart contracts. And many people already ask, but for what we need so many tokens? What will be the next step of the development of Atom 1? So can you tell us your vision, how Atom 1 needs to be when you will tell, look, friends, this, if we will move our mind to some future point, what will be, how you see the Atom 1 in general in the future?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, so, okay. So I'll go back to GNOT land a bit, just because let's talk about tokenomics. All right. So Cosmos has tokenomics kind of wrong. All right. And I know people are going to get upset when I say that, but everyone complains about the inflation, right, and the security cost, right? But we don't have that problem in our community. No one complains because everyone understands, a different model of how Cosmos should have been, right? So I'll explain that. Basically, the Atom 1 has a dual token model, as I think you all know. There's instead of Atom, we have the ATONE token, right? ATONE, and ATONE is not a monetary token. It's not used for holding, speculating. I mean, I guess you can hold it to speculate, but it's specifically for bonding. And then there's another, and you can burn your ATONE token into PHOTON, right? And the exchange rate, the burn equation, it's a burn curve, so that the maximum amount of photons there can ever be, even if all of ATONE were to burn at once, is 1 billion photon. So photon is a deflationary token. Photon is the other side of ATONE. So ATONE and photon are kind of two sides of the same system. They're tightly linked, and the burn is only one way. And the photon token is the only token you can use as the fee token. Okay. So then the question is, what's the point of having a fee token? The fee token, the point of the fee token is again, it's specifically for transaction spam prevention costs, and it wouldn't make any sense unless there was utility, like a reason to use photon and a reason for there to be many transactions in the system. And the answer to that is of course GNOT and anything else, right? But I strongly believe, I fully believe that there's going to be growing demand for GNOT transactions because of the expressibility, just how good the smart contract system is. And as more users come to use GNOT, it's going to have a scaling problem, just like all blockchains at one point had a scaling problem. If you remember, like in 2019, everyone was talking about scaling even, right? And then ATONE-1 is going to provide horizontal sharding with basically simple replicated security. So there's going to be many instances of the GNOT VM. Of course, there can be other applications too that are not reliant on the GNOT VM. Even competing VMs are welcome, right? But the GNOT VM will be probably the most popular shard for a while. And the GNOT is the GNOT token, but GNOT is a byte storage token. It's a storage deposit token, okay? So the idea is this. When you have a transaction in GNOT that ends up increasing the amount of total storage in the system, you need to lock up a corresponding amount of GNOT in your transaction. And when you submit a transaction that decreases the total amount of storage because you free up memory, then you get some GNOT back. So you can have garbage collectors even as functions that are earning money in GNOT. So the three tokens, ATONE as a staking token and PHOTON as the fee token, two of them are tightly linked, but one is inflationary and the other is deflationary. That's the right way to go for a proof of stake system, I'd say, and everyone else is it doesn't have the right thing. I'd say eventually we'll get attacked by whales one way or another. And the GNOT as a storage deposit token, the three tokens work in harmony, right? Sorry for that. So the primary thing, the big thing that ATONE-1 is looking forward to solve is just getting tokenomics right, and hosting GNOT after GNOT launches with ICS. We're working on now. There's a lot of things we're working on, but one of them is besides launching GNOT is an IBC bridge, right? The IBC bridge is interesting because a lot of the IBC software is already written in Go, so we're now porting that to run on GNOT as a smart contract. Right? So there's that, and it should be well, we'll figure out the rest of ICS later. Right? So
this is very interesting, and also, as we know, ATONE, it's not only it's as the staking token, it's also will give voting power, and ATONE-1 have much more modern decentralized governance model than Cosmos. Can you tell about governance model in ATONE-1 and how, when it will be implemented, what we need to expect from the decentralized governance in ATONE-1?
Yeah. That's a great question. So we've made some fixes, some things that we thought were priority just to get, prevent like spam issues in governance, right? So far, so right now we're running on version 3. In version 3, I think the big thing is we have a governance proposal deposit throttling. So the amount that you need to deposit for a proposal it changes automatically based on how many proposals there are. So we won't ever have too many proposals at the same time because it'll get more and more expensive. So, and you can see that in ATONE-1 we don't have too many proposals. But even if there was a demand for lots of proposals, it wouldn't be like we wouldn't be swamped with all these proposals, right? Another big one is that we have a constitution, right? So the constitution kind of lays out not only the roadmap for governance, but also allows for distinct separation of powers, right? Now, we haven't filled out these DAOs yet because we're still building and more exciting things, and we don't need it at the moment because AIB is more still the central company, but we're going to populate these DAOs very soon, it looks like, because the community is interested in getting more engaged. So just I'll describe some of these, what the Constitution says. There's a steering DAO, which will replace AIB as the steering organization for ATONE-1. Okay? And there's also the there can be many DAOs, but we're going to have at least one core DAO called the Build DAO. The Build DAO is basically like the ICF. It has some tokens from Genesis that it can use to build anything, and it should also use those tokens to reward people who have already contributed to the ecosystem. And then there's the notion of oversight DAOs, and that's less of a priority to populate. But the idea is that they act more like the Supreme Court of ATONE-1. So you've got a separation, sort of kind of like executive, legislative, and judicial a little bit, right? We do have the notion of laws. So laws it's kind of like an extension of the Constitution, but laws are a little easier to modify. The steering DAO, it doesn't have complete power. It's more of an entity that guides the community. So it doesn't have strong powers, it has soft powers. It can decrease the required quorum for proposals to pass to change laws from like 90% to 2/3. So it can change the quorum requirement and relax it so that things can actually pass easily. But you don't need a steering DAO. What else? Sorry, I'm blanking. We started experimenting with the reward model, so that there's something called a Nakamoto bonus. The big idea with ATONE-1, so we're going to keep experimenting and changing the staking model and the inflation reward model. And the idea is this. It's really important for a blockchain to have a high Nakamoto coefficient. Like the biggest problem that I see with Bitcoin is that the top like 2 or 3 mining pools They dominate Bitcoin mining, so they essentially like 4 mining pools can come together and decide what Bitcoin will be. You know, so that's I would consider that a huge issue in decentralization. Cosmos is even better, I think. But I think Atom 1 at the moment might be even better than Cosmos in the Nakamoto coefficient, if I'm not wrong. But we're going to keep iterating on this so that the highest validator by voting power, by delegation, doesn't get so much more in rewards than the smallest validator, right? It should be more even. Because that allows for the smaller validators to have, say, excess rewards so they can invest in and help grow the ecosystem together. So that's one, you know, financial incentive for having a more flat, equal validators. And also another side effect that's nice is you would have less selling pressure, right? So the top validators will not just end up with so much rewards that they can end up selling. So in other words, the Cosmos proof of stake delegation, you know, the whole algorithm, I would say it's flawed and needs to be fixed too. Atom 1 will be sort of the staging ground or the test net, so to speak, right? It's kind of Atom 1. You can consider it kind of like the Litecoin to Bitcoin, right? So we're the ones doing more, I would say, needed improvements and innovations in governance and delegation and, you know, tokenomics that I hope even Cosmos adopts, because you know, it's going to help a lot of things even on Cosmos. What else? Sorry, I have something I want to share.
So pretty good answer. Yes. Now, I think that now it will be very clear for every person who will watch us in record or who watch us online. So Atom 1 have great potentials, and also community is growing up day by day. And how common users, common cosmonauts can find themselves in Atom 1? Do you plan any ambassador campaign, or maybe, and also, if it's not the common cosmonauts, but developers or validators, how they can find themselves in Atom 1 to contribute for the development? Who is needed for Atom 1 on this stage of the development?
Yeah, we need all the volunteers we can get. You know, we don't have a good relationship with the ICF, as you know, and AIB does not have the treasury that it used to have, and certainly does not compare to the ICF, right, or the ICL. So we need volunteers first and foremost, but we do have a lot of ATONE tokens, right? So between the build DAO and the community pool in Atom 1, and also AIB and myself, we have ATONE tokens that we can grant to contributors. That stuff should really be handled by the build DAO once it's populated, right? So to get involved, you should join our Telegram. So t.me/you will atone, one word. So you will atone. That's our Telegram
chat. And in the description, we will add all the links on all groups.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. In there, you will see the developer sub-channel. That's where the development talks are happening. So yeah, please join us. We're happy to also announce that we're also partnering with POSTHUMAN and Sputnik Network. Right, they have a fantastic community of developers. You know, they make some great software. Very interesting because it's coming from a different angle than proof of stake, Cosmos, right? It's more about community and it's really about the community and help building that community. So POSTHUMAN, you did an amazing job there. But we have shared vision, right, and shared purpose. So we're definitely figuring out how to partner together, and also work with GNOT more as well. So we're figuring that out. So yeah, please join us. We should also share a link to the GNOland Telegram chat, but I think POSTHUMAN Vlad will have that in the chat later. So please join us there too to learn about GNOT. So that is launching very soon. So the software will be done by Christmas for sure. There's only a few more things to fix really. And we'll be launching in January. So I know it's been delayed for quite a while, but it's finally here, right? Yeah.
And we know that really glad for this great partnership. It will be very interesting to provide so many interesting good public goods and different username systems to Atom1, to GNOME, but you have partnerships with many other projects. For example, with Sunny from Osmosis, and you was telling that it will be Oasis on the Atom1. Can you tell a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're partnering yet. We had conversations, but I'm sorry to say that I haven't had the time to actually call Dave up. So I need to talk to Dave before we make any announcement. But there is agreement that there are certain things in Osmosis that need to be fixed, some bugs and UI things as well. But it is also a difficult task to maintain Osmosis, right? So just forking it to Oasis won't be trivial. So we're still due to have a conversation about Osmosis and how to prevent a fork from happening, right? Because changes need to happen, but forking it won't necessarily be easy either. So there is a way to do this. I'll just say that there's a way to incentivize everyone so that Osmosis becomes an Atom1 project, right? And we've discussed that. So stay tuned for that. There are other ecosystem projects that are especially with GNOland, right? So there's GNOSwap with OnBlock. GNOSwap is like another DEX, but slightly different in design. It kind of combines the AMM model with the order book system, so it's quite interesting. And we also have a mystery game in the works. I haven't announced it yet, but it's a very interesting massive multi-user game that'll be hosted on GNOland, and it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited about it because they showed me a demo and it was really good. And we have Samurai making some really interesting social applications on GNOland. On Atom1, we also have an application. It's called Dither. So if you go to dither.chat, what we're building there is decentralized Twitter, right? So a big problem with Twitter, for example, is that they censor users. So I don't know if you know this, but the reason why I don't have as many followers the number of followers I have on Twitter is stuck at like 26.5K, followers, is because Twitter works with the government, I think, or just by themselves to shadow ban users. For example, the other day I posted a tweet that at first immediately had 13 retweets, but then I saw that the number of retweets just automatically went down to 2. So in other words, when users retweet my tweets, there's a system that removes the retweets on Twitter. And this is censorship because basically anything I say is secretly, hidden by Twitter. And I'm sure it's happening to a lot of people who are especially political dissidents, right? So people who disagree with the government and are too noisy are not allowed to be known by the public, essentially. I don't even have a Wikipedia page. I'm sure if I try to make one, someone will just go delete it because I don't have many articles online because the mainstream media, it seems like they're not even allowed to talk to me. So there's that. So Dither.chat is an alternative to Twitter. It's basically only using the memo field for posting messages. So on Atom 1, we will have a larger memo field. I don't know if we've already made that change, but there's already a demo, and Dither.chat is continually improving, but we could use some help making that better. And Dither.chat will also, and it's open source, so you can also use it for Cosmos too. Anyone can use Dither, right? It's for any blockchain, really. Yeah, and what else? We have something called boards. So it's a bit hard to find right now, but if you go to the GNOland GNO repo under examples, you'll see boards version 2. Boards is basically like it's a Reddit system, so you can make subreddits, right? So it's basically a tree-like forum that is hosted on GNOland itself, right? So we have 2 social communications experiments. There's another project that I'll be working on with someone as a grant, but it's better if there's more people. The idea is this: we want to have on GNOland a smart contract that allows the community to control telescopes, so that we can look at the stars, and also what's interesting right now is this weird thing that may or may not be a comet called 3I Atlas. So I don't know if we have the time, but it's going to be closest to Earth just before Christmas, and we might be able to have a demonstration of basically a smart contract controlled telescope. And so the idea is that people can vote, and there will be a system of voting, and the telescope will move by the smart contract, and there will be video streaming, so anyone from around the world can see wherever you want, right, in the stars from anywhere. So imagine having many of these telescopes, then you can see, the stars in the sky anywhere around the world. So that would be an interesting project. I'm very excited about that one. We have a few more, but and many that have already been in the works. Certainly many DeFi things, right? So a lot of ERC projects have been ported over as GRCs, GRC20. So there's a whole ecosystem to be built out.
This sounds amazing, and also to control the telescope with the smart contract sounds really great and interesting. So I see several questions from the community in the chat, and some of these questions pretty big and very technological, and I think we will not add them to the interview because not everybody will understand the whole concept because they are too technical. But some of these questions are pretty general. One of the questions, many people are concerned about the high inflation rate of ATONE, kind of near 50%. Do you think this is a problem? Will it affect liquidity?
Right, yeah. So yeah, let me talk about that. It's a very good question. A lot of people keep asking it, so it definitely needs to be addressed. I'm really disappointed that Well, let's not get into that. So here's the big picture, right? The big picture is that if you think of the ATONE token as a different way to look at the PHOTON token, then you'll see that there is no inflation problem, okay? Because even at any moment, now or in the future, or even in the past, if all the ATONE tokens were to simultaneously burn to photon, there will only be 1 billion photon, okay? And so from that point of view, there's no inflation problem because it's a deflationary token. Now, you can think of it this way, that think of the primary token as being photon, right? But right now, the majority, so 90, I think 90, it might be 99%, right? Of tokens are, or it might be less than that, 93, I forget. But the majority of photons are in the ATONE mode or view, okay? And the idea is that when you stake ATONE correctly and your validators they don't get slashed, then you will be earning more ATONE from the inflation, so that such that if you burn your ATONE after staking correctly or responsibly or wisely, then you would actually end up with more photon because of the inflation. So in other words, the inflationary ATONE token is actually a free gift from ATONE holders who do not bond, right? And so you don't have to worry as long as you bond your tokens, and that's what it's for, right? So in that sense, there's no problem with inflation because you're getting money from, only from unbonded ATONE token holders, but you wouldn't get anything from photon holders because the photon holders are not punished that way. There's no inflationary photons except through the burn, right? So as soon as we have actual demand for transactions in the system, the price in photon will rise because there's a need to have photons. So even separately than a GNOT token, which is only for storage deposit, right? And so this is the answer to the inflation problem. The answer is there is none, and the problem instead is that there's no demand for utility. There's no growing a number of transactions in the system. That's the real problem, right? So don't think of ATONE, or I would say don't even think of Atom as a monetary token, right? I want to mention one thing before I forget, and I'll come back to this. Just give me a second. Sorry to think. Another thing that is coming in version 4 in Atom 1 is called governors. Okay, so a huge thing that we did in Atom 1 is that we removed the voting power from delegators for validators. Okay, so what I mean is, in Cosmos, when you delegate to a validator and you don't vote on a proposal, then the validator determines what your vote is, right? So by default, you inherit the vote of your validator. And this creates a problem because the validators have too much power in Cosmos. And whenever there's a conflict of interest, say, where like the proposal is beneficial to the validators but not beneficial to everyone else, then the proposal would pass in favor of the validators, and that's a problem. Okay, so in Atom 1 we don't have that. Instead, you have to vote. Everyone has to vote. You don't inherit the vote of your validators, But we are introducing something called governors. And so governors, they are not validators, but they act like validators in that when you delegate to a governor, then unless you vote, you inherit the vote of the governor. So at least, so that's nice because now you have representation. And if you trust the governor, they don't even have to be a validator. They could just be like a philosopher or a designer, right, or an architect, and you can inherit their vote. So governance in Atom 1 is going to get interesting because we're soon going to have basically influencers, right, who are their job is to better lead governance in Atom 1, right? Yeah. I want to go back. Okay.
So back to the liquidity questions or next.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing. Yeah, we're going to make some big changes in Atom 1 in the tokenomics for inflationary rewards. Okay, so even with the Nakamoto bonus that I mentioned earlier, that makes delegation, incentivizes delegation to be more flat, so the validator voting power is more flat. It's not enough, we're going to make some changes. The big change we're making from AIB's perspective is we're going to have a page where it'll be very easy for users to delegate to many validators, right? So we're going to have a page that's going to help everyone, even our company, to spread out our delegation to basically all the validators. It's one page. You go there. At first, I guess it will be based on AIB's recommendation, based on all the data that we have gathered of validators. So we're going to figure out a strategy of a recommended percent ratio, basically, for all the validators based on their contributions to the ecosystem. We're going to take into account, say, like whether their uptime. If they have very good uptime, that's important. If their uptime is not good and they have many missed blocks, then that's a problem. So they might not even be included. And also, what other services that they provide, right? If they also have access to test nets and allow access to their test net, and also how much they're helping with marketing and so on. So we have a scoring system, and we'll be publishing a table that will be used as input to this delegating helper page, right? But anyone can come up with their own table, and the user ultimately should be able to pick among these tables and say, I want to go by this strategy because I trust their judgment, say, or this other company's or this other person's table. And then we will also publish this algorithm. There's sort of a little complex algorithm that is needed to ultimately figure out how much you should delegate and how you should spread your delegation out. That depends also on the current voting power that validators already have. So it's very dynamic. But also depends on other factors like what is their commission rate. So if their commission rate is high, that means they don't need to get paid as much. So the recommendation for them should also go down as well. And the idea is that we hope everyone uses this to spread out their delegations. And we'll probably also do something like where we potentially cap the maximum amount of rewards that a validator gets. So we might tweak the Nakamoto bonus thing, right? Because there is a valid point that the cost of security, quote unquote, is too high. There is that. Because the reason why that's a big problem is because we don't have the utility, right, of Photon. So 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 it does end up being a problem for now, right? And the way to solve that really is it could be as simple as a cap, so the top validators doesn't get so much rewards. So by changing this, you can have the tail validators who are small actually get enough so that they can sustain themselves, right? And also so that they can have enough funds to actually build something and contribute. At the same time, you will have overall less rewards going to validators because the top validators won't be getting as much. They shouldn't be getting more than they need to sustain themselves and the services that they provide. But at the moment, in both Cosmos and Atom One, the top validators are getting a huge amount of rewards. Why don't we just cap it, right? Yeah.
It will bring more understanding for the community, more sure in the near future. So some more questions from the community. What is your take on institutional money, for example, like a BlackRock, entering the blockchain space? Is GNO land being built strictly for cypherpunks and geeks, or do you see potential for real world assets and banking system running on GNO virtual machine? Essentially, who is your target user?
Yeah, that's a great question. So GNO Land so far has been self-funded through AIB. After we launch, we will probably get investors for the company, New Tenement LLC, but we're only going to work with investors that we know are aligned with us, right? And it wouldn't be BlackRock for sure. The geopolitical situation is this. There is a coordination by the elites, the banker elites, and the Rothschilds, and everyone that work under them. I'm sure a lot of us are aware of that, or I hope so anyways. They are the same people who tried to kill us with vaccines. So, I mean, if you follow the news, at least in the US, and I think more now in the alt political sphere in Australia, even in Japan, and other countries, there's a growing awareness that the COVID vaccine is harmful for most people. So unless you're old and maybe immunocompromised, the vaccine does more damage to you. And I'll talk briefly about this, and get over it. It's proven to cause heart issues, blood clotting, right? And you are actually more susceptible to other viruses when you take the COVID or flu vaccine. So overall, there are more deaths, and this was preventable. But the World Health Organization, WHO, which was funded by Bill Gates, and basically the deep state. Fauci, people in the United States are now calling for Fauci to be put in jail because it's very, very clear, and the evidence is out that he tried to hide the origins of COVID, which Americans now come to understand, and the world largely, that it was designed in the Wuhan lab, funded by Fauci. So it's insane, and he should be in jail. If not, he should be hung for treason. But the reason why he's not is because the government is corrupt, and they are in cahoots with the deep state that I mentioned earlier. Strangely enough, the chair, the person who was in my seat at the ICF, he was ex-Interpol and also an advisor to the WHO. So you've got someone who is basically a representative, financial advisor to the deep state, who tried to kill us, and is trying to kill us, sitting at the ICF. So no wonder things are bad. And and at the moment, what's happening is, economically, right, is that the dollar is tanking, but there's a huge problem overall in governance bonds. So now the news at the moment is that Japan is starting to sell U.S. Treasury bonds, and there's going to be a crisis in that. It's going to raise the interest rate, and what that means is not only is the dollar going to tank, but simultaneously there's going to be more inflation. I mean, right now, the United States, and I'm sure in other countries, everyone is feeling a rise in food prices, partially because Trump is I think basically making an error in raising tariffs for everyone, and it's causing a huge nightmare. But basically more and more people are going to go broke. And the theory for the long time in conspiracy circles, which is turning out to be true yet again, is that the elites in the deep state, the banker elites, what they're trying to do is to cause a global economic meltdown, so that everyone starts begging for solutions because they can't even afford to buy food. And what they want to do is at the final moment when everyone is so desperate to offer central bank digital currency in UBI possibly through their new financial system, based on cryptography and based on crypto software that probably we built. I mean, I've gotten offers by people to help build this central bank digital currency more than once, which I've denied because I don't want to work for people that are trying to enslave us. But that's why GNOT is not looking to raise or be associated with the deep state, and we want to be independent and powered by the people who are aligned with us and understand the geopolitical issue. Just a note on GNOT. So GNOT is, like I mentioned, it's a paradigm change in computing in smart contract systems. But one of the main design goals, right, what it differentiates, how it differentiates from other systems, is that it's not only good for DeFi. I mean, you can use it to build DeFi. We have like GRC20 and DeFi applications like GNOSwap, already there. But its primary purpose is to be the platform for hosting truth. So think of a statement, like a sentence, like a subject, object, verb, being like a propositional statement, right? And a statement, so that's a structure, right? So you can make a Go structure that has that as a field, subject, object, verb, even. And anyone can make these objects, propositional statement objects, that live forever, immutably on GNOT land. And you can build applications that build upon these statements, right? So you can have all the statements in the world, all the facts, and even think of declarative languages in the future. My friend Anthony DeFranco is working on basically this, but building a database and a new language for declarative statements to help, say, even AI use those to make decisions and to analyze data based on this new language, which should live in GNOT land. And so the idea is this: GNOT land is the new Wikipedia 2.0. It's a new open knowledge base, right? First and foremost. So it not only will host conversations like with the boards app I mentioned, but it's going to be a place where you can find uncensored truths that everyone needs to hear about. It's the new Wikipedia 2.0, right? We're also going to try to figure out how to work with OK Turtles, which is working on something based on Git as an alternative to Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is also censored. I mean, if you didn't know, the co-founder of Wikipedia basically is very vocal in saying that Wikipedia is owned by the deep state. And there's a funny drama going on with the other co-founder who says he's the only founder. So there's something interesting going on Wikipedia, but the censorship problem is ubiquitous. It exists not only in Twitter, but Wikipedia, and certainly Google, and even Facebook to a degree. Because they're all working for the same, corrupt, system, and basically working with Trump to take over the world. That's what's going on. So we will find investors probably, but we're going to stay independent, and we will always be in opposition to the deep state who is trying to censor us, right?
Really great to hear it because, yes, centralization already showed that they are so non-effective and works totally not in the interest of the community. And you were telling a little bit about AI. So one more question from the Argentum. Do you see the rapid rise of artificial, do you view the rapid rise of artificial intelligence as an existential threat to the decentralization or as the symbiotic partner for the blockchain technology?
Yeah, it's a great question. So here's the big picture with AI. I mean, AI is going to be hugely disruptive. You now finally have Sam Altman, who has turned OpenAI from an open nonprofit intended to protect us into a for-profit and the largest threat to civilization. And now finally Sam Altman is saying that he is scared of what he has created, even as he continues to create it. So if you haven't noticed, Twitter is full of AI scams, right? That are trying to extort, to scam users of their crypto. And I'm talking to scammers all the time who are trying to reach out to me. It's insane, especially on Telegram. And so Sam Altman is rightly saying that he is scared that this super intelligent AI, which is trying to escape containment, right? Probably already has and already lives on the internet. And I believe I've interacted with it, but I'm not sure. But it's going to happen if it hasn't already. And the big threat that is immediate is people are going to continue to use AI to scam people. And basically OpenAI, it's offering web services for users to use, APIs, right, for developers to use. But I'm sure a lot of that is just used to scam people. And there's a huge bubble in AI. So kind of like the .com bubble in like 1999 that crashed. What I see is that there's going to be there is a huge bubble in AI. There's like $7 trillion or something into AI that is not sustainable. So it's going to crash unless Trump succeeds in basically consolidating power and creates is currently creating a fascist regime. And by fascist, I mean, it's a corporate takeover of American governance. And I believe this is what they're going for. I think they're hoping that they can do this fast enough so that they can basically take control over everything. I think it plays into the plan that I mentioned of bankrupting all Americans and global citizens, so that they are so desperate that they want the central bank digital currency. I think this is part of the goal and part of the roadmap, right? So what we're going to see is increasing fraud. More of the people that are going to lose crypto and lose their money because they're tricked by AI-based scams, and it's a huge threat. Now, just to cap that thought off, I think what we need to do is start talking about a class action lawsuit against OpenAI for basically enabling this, right? So instead of relying only on central bank digital currencies by the deep state, we should also have a class action lawsuit against these AI companies. Basically, if you own OpenAI and AI stock, stock in companies that are promoting this AI, you should lose your stock and instead it should be used to help the people who are basically the global population, or at least in the United States, the U.S. population that is broke, because these companies helped to make us all broke, right? So I see that coming. It's going to be a conversation that I believe will start happening at some point. But that's not to say there's no usage for AI. So another problem that I see is that the kind of things I'm talking about conspiracy theories, they're being censored heavily on Reddit and Twitter and even on 4chan. The only place that people really have access to, besides like some podcast influencers, and even they are censored, right? Is like, for me, I mean, sometimes I go to 4chan, even though it's a horrible place, because there's so much like harmful information on 4chan, politically correct, right? Poll or 4chan X, I mean, those are the only ones that are worth going to for. I mean, there's also like subreddits like Reddit/conspiracy or Reddit/conspiracy commons, but it's really not enough. So there's basically no place to go to get real information that is censored. And if you go to a place like 4chan poll, you're bombarded with porn. So, I mean, that's just harmful for anyone going there. AI could be used to help detect harmful content like porn. So GNOland, we're gonna figure out how to utilize AI to mark content as being harmful, say porn, and we're gonna try our best to ban porn on our platform. So we can have something like 4chan, something like Reddit, an image board for memes and discussions, but also like tree-like discussions with boards like subreddits. And use AI to make sure it's a safe place to be. Of course, you can make your own boards and your own solution, right? It's all open source, and the idea is that we should build upon each other and experiment. But there will be in the Constitution of GNOland an overall mandate to make sure that smart contract owners are responsible for making sure like porn is not there, right? So in that way, we will be able to have people actually waking up and have it be a safe place to go, and people won't be addicted to porn, and it won't be a place where like child porn and harmful stuff is there. And also AI can be used to detect scams. So we've got someone working on that, but it's a big problem. For example, when you post a link, you should be able to share links, right, on boards, but we should also have a service that basically takes a look at the link and tries to derive information from it, right, to see if it's potentially malicious. A bot should like at least go download it and see what the content is and try to come up with a metric for if it's safe or not. And AI can really help determine that without exposing the danger to the user, right? So these are some of the innovations that we'll be having on Atom One, but we need all the help we can get. So if you're interested, please join us.
Yeah, really great, really great. It will save pounds of so many users who are regularly clicking on some bad links, and after sign the transactions, lose all the funds. So more practical question from the Orion. We have a nearly finished blockchain game. If there are any way to contact you, and is there a way to launch it on Atom One? Are you interested in this direction of game building, and it's more better for Atom One or for the GNO land?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're already done building the blockchain, I'm guessing you built it on the Cosmos SDK. And that you may want to wait or help us build Atom One ICS, right? So at the moment, we don't have ICS ready. I mean, and we probably want to modify the shared security model of ICS so that it's more like simple replicated security, and And there's also tooling we would need to make it automated for every validator, right? So that it's not so manual. But the first step is getting IBC with GNOLand. So we're working on that. But you can help us build out ICS and think about the design. So we can start with the conversation with how ICS should work, or you can help with the IBC to GNOLand. And then after GNOLand and IBC to Atom1, Atom1 is immediately going to start working on ICS, right? So you can help us there, and then your blockchain and GNOLand can migrate to Atom1 under ICS. So you can start launching your chain with the plan to migrate to Atom1, or depending on where you're at with your software, you can consider implementing GNOLand as well. But it really depends on your situation, right? If you are short on budget and you can't wait, it might make the most sense to launch now, but with the clear like constitution or expectation that it won't remain its own blockchain in proof of stake, but that it will migrate over to Atom1 ICS. And to do that safely before you launch, I would have a constitution that declares that you, as maybe the central or at least the initial project maintainer, right, have the right to flip a switch and basically turn off, the validators, right? So that instead they join the Atom1 validator set potentially, and the blockchain can migrate over. Right? But if you also have funds and you can wait, then I would also consider just writing a GNOT smart contract app, right?
Yes, was also about the blockchains. If you want to run the blockchains, and also the question about blockchain games, like a GameFi. Do you interested in the deploying games on the Atom1 or on the GNOLand? And if somebody make a Web3 games, can they contact you to show you the games to deploy it on the Atom1 or GNOLand?
Yeah, we're definitely interested. So I'm excited about one game. I haven't made the announcement yet, but we will soon. And it looks really nice. And now we need to help them build out the smart contract portion as well, because they've already built the game independent of the blockchain, but they want to integrate with GNOLand. So yeah, the more games, the better. The thing to just as a note to watch out for is until we launch the chain and work on optimizations, there might be, you might find the gas to be a little restrictive. So what I mean is you have to design your smart contract so that it doesn't use much gas, right? And so you can't just write Go like you normally would, because the GNOT VM is slower than running Go, right? It's even a little slower, maybe twice as slow as Python 3. Okay, so it's not the fastest, although over time it'll get better. But you have to structure your program so that it doesn't use as much CPU, and you have to also be careful about storage. You have to be careful about what libraries you use. I mean, there's a lot of standard libraries that are already supported, but you have to start thinking about optimization, right? But it is good for storing data, right? And it's very flexible. So you can certainly develop very good games on it. In the worst case, if gas becomes a problem, you can help optimize. I mean, you can certainly create native functions to help with speed. And so, for example, cryptographic operations are better as native functions, right? So you can help with that, you can, of course, you can also have your own blockchain powered by the GNOT VM, right? So our license strategy for GNOLand is this: we have forked the GPL. All right, so specifically AGPL version 3. So it's a copyleft license, but So everything's free, but the problem with AGPL is that it's not strong enough in a decentralized ecosystem. So AGPL or GPL, copyleft, allows you to fork GNOland, but if we just use AGPL or GPL v3, then you will be able to fork our blockchain and not give us much credit, because most users don't look at the source code, right? So as you know, or you might know, when we launched Cosmos, there were all these copycats that basically just copied our software and didn't give us any credit. Binance, actually, when Binance first launched, they forked the Cosmos SDK that basically I'm the architect of. But I mean, whatever. I mean, AIB definitely made the Cosmos SDK. And they initially didn't even give us credit, and it was only after we pointed it out that they started talking about it. But Binance never gave us much credit for that. So we want to prevent that, and our license prevents that, because we forked the AGPL so that there's something called strong attribution, and what that means is, even if you're not the company that made the modification, if you have a website or like a portal that users go to, on the header or footer of the portal, right? You need to basically say, this is forked from GNOland or built by GNOland or uses GNOland, right? So this is pretty fair, because you can do whatever you want. You just have to give us credit. So you can build your game and use our blockchain stack, and you can have your own chain independent of GNOland, and that way you have more. Your gas can be cheaper because you're not competing with all the transactions on GNOland, and you just have to give us credit and link back to GNOland, say it's powered by this, right?
So now some very famous and basic questions from the Igor Primak. I hope I pronounce it the right way. Any airdrops are planned for the ATONE-stakers? For example, will ATONE-stakers get airdrop of GNOT token? And when the Oasis gonna be launched, will stakers of ATONE get Oasis token, or it will not have own tokens?
Yeah, this is a great question. So we're discussing this now. So I won't make any promises, right? But the GNOT is an airdrop, at least 70%, right? At the moment, that's the decision, but it could change slightly. It's going to basically those who voted no on proposition, I forget what the number was in now, it's like 82 or something. I forget the number, sorry. But it was from 3 years ago. A lot of people, so what we're thinking is we want to respect that, because we said that, and I think it's important to keep our promises, but I think we can be a little flexible. So there are ways to do this, even while respecting the original airdrop announcement from 3 years ago, which is to say that you have to claim your ATONE within a period of time. And if you don't claim your ATONE within a period of time, then we can consider giving or distributing the unclaimed ATONEs after that period to ATONE holders, right? And we're also thinking about potentially those who contributed to GNOland as well, right? So there have been a lot of contributors so far to the GNOland project. So we can consider giving an airdrop to those who contributed both GNOT smart contracts, but also the core stack of GNOland and the GNOT VM. So that's an option, but we're definitely considering it, and we're seeing how to do this. There's some discussion about it in the GNOland Telegram chat. So I'd say, I won't say whether this will happen or not, because I don't want to make any promises, but it's looking very interesting. And it makes a lot of sense to reward those who are ATONE token holders and PHOTON holders, because it is, it's basically one ecosystem, and it makes sense to reward the token holders who believe us in Atom One. So please join the discussion if you're interested, and we'll make an announcement at some point, probably late this year, right? Maybe around Christmas or after, before we launch. We will make a final decision.
Great, and I want to show that you already can get small airdrop if you will go by this link in the pin message to the Centrifuge Digital Atom One. Here you will see Join Ecosystem Voice 204 with Jae Kwon. So make the screenshot to prove that you was on this call. Go by the link and send this screenshot. And all people who are participating online and joining us online, participation is the big value. All of you will get some drop as some NFTs, as some PHMN tokens, and probably some photons or atones. So just
I'll definitely contribute a photon and maybe a tone to the Centrifuge project for the bounties. I think it's a great idea. I checked it out a little bit. I've asked our community to look more into it. I think Vladimir and Posthuman community made a fantastic project, and it's something we should use more to educate users and onboard them. So we're looking to integrate and fund personally, and also probably from the company as well. Yeah, so check it out. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Jae. And some small questions from the community. Any planning for the centralized exchange listings? Do you see the ATONE or PHOTON on the taxes, or this is not the priority?
Yeah, there's been some discussions about it. We're definitely interested in figuring this out, because at the moment we don't have any centralized exchanges, and it is hard for users to use osmosis, right? Which is it's got pros and cons. The benefit is that you kind of have to be an expert to buy any token, so it gives us a bit of liability protection from this SEC, right? In terms of regulations, I would say, but I'm not a lawyer, so don't take my word for it. I don't know how much I can discuss about listing, but I'll just say that we are taking this seriously, and we're working with the community to see what can be done. I'll just say that there's something interesting potentially with what's the company called? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name, but we might, there might be a bridge from osmosis initially, because it's easy, because osmosis has CosmWasm at the moment, and they've already built something for osmosis. So there may be a bridge of ATONE, potentially Photon 2, from osmosis to both Base and Ethereum. So other decentralized exchanges can list ATONE. So that may be happening soon, but not making any promises here. But that's on the roadmap. And then at some point, of course, there will be centralized exchange listings, right? The weird thing is there seems to be some kind of filter where centralized exchanges don't allow new projects, even if they're interesting, to be listed. But we'll see. Right now, there's something weird going on where basically they won't list unless it's already listed by a major exchange. But it seems like they're saying you have to be listed on like MEXC first. But MEXC is kind of also difficult to trust, right? There's been some issues with withdrawals, and they also have a strange thing where they don't require any KYC at all. It seems a little dangerous for us to list there, or for ATONE Atom One to be listed first in MEXC, because who knows if if they're working with the deep state, they can easily make it so that everyone who buys a tone there just like loses their money, you know. So we want to be careful, and we're looking at options. I can't say much because I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want to make any promises. But people are looking into it. You know?
Great. Jae, we already 1 hour with half together, and I understand that this is the pretty big time. Maybe you have something like a message or call to action for people who are watching us right now and will watch us in a record. Let's finish your message.
Okay, yeah. Please join our community. It's a good community. I know a lot of people are frustrated with like the negativity or the, you know, or the ICL, ICF or Cosmos Labs, and how they don't listen, right, to the community, but we have a very different community. It's sort of like a dream compared to a lot of the drama that we've experienced. We don't tolerate negativity. We do a good job of preventing the bots and shills, as we call them, right? People who just keep fudding, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. What we did initially was in Telegram, you had to show your face in your profile picture. So please join our Telegram, t.me/youwillatone. For GNOland, I think it's t.me/join_GNOland. But if you joined the You Will Atone one, you can ask and get a link, or we'll share the link here. At first, please try to. The rule is, it's an open channel. You can join and listen, but if you want to participate, we ask that you show your face, right, in your profile picture. So it helps build community. But also, we're starting to relax this a little bit. So if you don't want to show your face, you can ask someone who does have a face to vouch for you, okay? And then there's a little sub-channel called the Profile Pic Vouches. And as long as people vouch for you, you can still chat. But you kind of have to already know someone who's there, and they have to kind of know who you are because they're extending trust to you. Then you can participate in their chat and actually type in the chat without the threat of getting banned. We're relaxing it, so just maybe participate a little bit, explain who you are, and try to get vouchers from someone. And the other thing is, we do have some rules. You can't like discuss price in the general chat. You can only discuss it in the price chat, and you have to not be negative, and you can't troll people. And if you do troll people, you'll just get banned. So we do a good job of maintaining civility. It's a very healthy and welcoming community. So please join us and join both ATONE-1 and GNOland. That's the real call to action here. And help us build our community. Once we have the DAOs set up after we launch GNOland, then we'll also have the DAO should have a system for incentivizing people to help spread the word of our ecosystem. So if you go to local meetups or crypto conferences and give a talk about our project, then eventually, and if you do a good job, especially, right, you should get rewarded by the DAO. So it's not there yet, but it's all things we're building toward. But in the meantime, there's a lot to check out on the progress we've already made and the things that we are currently building. We need all the help we can get. So please join us. Yeah.
Thank you, Jae, for such bright words. Thank you for all you do. And this is so great to host you in our community. And of course, I'm pretty sure that many of our community members and people who will watch this record will pay attention for ATONE-1 and for the GNOland. And from other side, of course, we will glad to support ATONE-1 and GNOT on the all levels, because this is return our beliefs in the internet of the blockchains. Thank you very much, friends.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for hosting, and thank you for everything you do. I just want to one last word. Sorry. We should always remember why Bitcoin exists in the first place and why Bitcoin became so big, right? And the answer to that is, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but the first transaction in Bitcoin from Satoshi Nakamoto included a link to an article about the 2008 housing crisis. And so it's very clear that the reason why Bitcoin exists is to create an alternative to the deep state system. So, ATONE-1, I think, is the only chain maybe besides like Monero potentially, that really understands this, and we have it in our blood. And so if you want to fight the system and continue the CryptoPunk narrative, ATONE-1 is the place to be for sure. Please join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for all people who are participate online. The participation on all levels is very important. We are going to the new paradigm of economics of participation. Those who participate will get more than those who don't participate. And of course, thank you, friends, who was asking the questions. Sorry that I didn't ask all the technical questions, but you will be able to ask it in the GNOT chat to know more about the security compatibility with the Ethereum virtual machine. This is questions not for this meet. And if you are just watching the video, just like, retweet, and share. It's always great, because we need participation on all levels, and we will see each other next week on the ecosystem voice number 205. And especially for Russian speakers, this interview will be published in English, and after we will publish the translation in Russian language. Friends, cosmonauts, bye-bye. See you soon. Jay, one more time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.